Good evening and welcome to the biology classes. Today we have to discuss about the diversity shown in the androecium and gynoecium of the flowers. Now androecium, you know that it is actually the all the stamens together, all the stamens present in a flower, it together forms the androecium of the flower. Now stamen, you know that it is made up of anther and filament. The anther is a knob-like structure and the filament is a stalk that attaches the anther to the flower. Now if you cut and see the section of an anther, usually you find that the anther has two lobes and each lobe has two chambers. So if the anther has two lobes, it is called as a bilobed anther, and it is the most common anther found, and the chambers present is called as pollen sac. Inside each pollen sac there are many pollen grains present. These pollen grains are actually the male gametophyte, you know that. So the male gametophytes are present inside the anther lobes. Now suppose a stamen is sterile, then that stamen is called as staminode. Sterile means it is not producing male gametophyte, then it is called as staminode. Now the arrangement of stamen, if we talk about it, then it can be either attached or free. Now if it is attached, it can be attached to a petal, then such anther is called as, or such a stamen is called as epipetalous, as you can see in brinjal. Or yesterday I told you about perianth. Perianth is what? A unit of flower in which the sepal and petal both get united. That is called as perianth. So if a stamen is attached to perianth, it is called as epiphyllous condition. This condition is found in flowers of lily. If all the anthers, all the stamens of the flower is free, they are not united with each other, they all are free, then that condition is called as polyandrous condition. But stamen can also form bundles together, they can bundle up together, and then there can be varying degrees. Like if it is monoadelphous condition, as in China rose, then all the stamens, they unite into one bunch or one bundle. If it is diadelphous, then two bundles are formed, as in case of pea, you can see 9 stamens are together and one is separate. So there are two bundles, one bundle forming 9 stamens and the other bundle forming only one stamen. Now if there are more than two bundles in a flower, more than two bundles of stamens, then it is called as polyadelphous condition, as you can see in citrus fruits. Now we have to discuss the female reproductive part of the flower, which is the gynoecium. And gynoecium is made up of, it can be made up of one or more than one carpels. A carpel has 3 parts. The uppermost tip is called the stigma. Then there is a tube-like structure which is called the style. It connects the stigma to the ovary, and the last third part is the bulging swollen part, which is a basal part of the carpel called as ovary. Ovary has within it ovules. Ovules are attached to the ovary with a cushion-like structure called as placenta. Now if more than one carpel is present, that is if it is a multicarpellary condition in the flower, then all the carpels can be free, as you have seen in rose, even in lotus. Then that condition is called as apocarpous condition. If all the carpels are fused, as in mustard and tomato, then it is syncarpous condition. And you all very well know that after fertilization the ovary changes into fruit. The ripened ovary is called as fruit, and within the fruit the seeds are present. These seeds are actually ovules that have changed after maturation into seeds. Now we are going to discuss a very important topic, that is a placentation. Placenta, I told you, is a cushion like structure that helps the ovules to get attached to the ovary. So if we are going to define placentation, then it will be like the arrangement of ovules within the ovary is known as placentation. Now there can be different types of arrangement. The ovules can be arranged differently in different ovaries, and depending on that there are different types of placentation. Now let us deal with each one of them one by one. First of all, you have marginal placentation, as you see in the pea pod. So if you have opened up a pea pod, then you see that it has a ridge like structure on which all the ovules or the seeds of the pea are attached to. This type of arrangement, in which the placenta forms a ridge like structure on the ventral part of the ovary, and ovules become attached to that, forming two rows, that is called as marginal placentation. Now other placentation is axile placentation. If you have cut a lemon or tomato, then you must have seen that there are many chambers or locules in that ovary, in the fruit, isn't it? So they form many locules, that is multilocular ovary, and the seeds are present, ovules are attached to the placenta that is present at the center. This type of placentation is called as axile placentation. This is found in China rose, tomato, lemon, etc. In case of mustard or argemone, there is another type of placentation that is called as parietal placentation. Now in this placentation, the ovules are attached to the inner wall of the ovary or towards the outside, the peripheral part of the ovary. Initially the ovary is one chambered, there is no locule in the ovary, but gradually it develops a false wall like structure which is called a septum, false septum, and it looks like a two chambered structure later on when it matures. So this type of placentation is called as parietal placentation. Now there is another condition in which the ovules are born on the central axis, but there is no locule, there is no septa that is separating each locule. Then such placentation is called as free central placentation. So axile placentation and free central placentation, they almost look alike, but the difference is that in axile placentation there are chambers or locules that are formed, but in free central placentation the ovules are born on the central axis and there is no septa found, there is no locule formed, as in case of diadelphous and evening primrose. Now when there is only one ovule attached to the base of the ovary, as in case of sunflower or marigold flowers, then such a placenta is called as basal placentation. So when there is only single ovule, this placentation can take place. The ovule gets attached to the base of the ovary, that's why it is called as basal placentation.